Hey guys, in this tutorial here we're going to take our character model sheet and we're going to put it into 3D Max and prepare for modeling. So I'm going to take my Photoshop file, I'm just going to save it. I'm going to open up 3D Max, brand new file here. Alright, there we go. I'm going to make sure my unit setup is correct. So I'm going to go to Customize, Unit Setup. I'm going to make sure it's set to centimeters or even meters here. I could do meters. So the important thing to remember is the rigs that we're going to be using, they're about 2 meters tall. So I'm going to want to make sure that my my pictures as I put them in here are going to be to scale. So I'm going to just make this box here. I'm going to make sure it's 2 meters tall. So that's going to be the size of my character. You want to make sure you get this stuff right early on. I mean, modeling isn't too bad, but once we get to rigging and animating, you want to make sure you're working in the right scales and setting all that up correctly. So make sure you do this part. Next, we're going to get our pictures in here. We're just going to throw them up on a plane. That way we can work on our model. So just take a plane in the switch to your front viewport by hitting F, and just put a plane in here. It could be arbitrary size for now. Open up the material editor. Throw material on there. I'm going to call this character ref. I'm using the old school material editor here, the compact one. You could use the slate one if you're more comfortable with it. But if you want to use what I'm using, just switch to go to modes and compact material editor. I'm going to go under diffuse, select the little button here beside it. It'll bring up this dialog here. I'm going to select bitmap, and I'm going to find my concept that I just did, which is this one here. See with my character. I'm just going to bring my Photoshop file. I don't care about saving it out as anything else. You can use JPEG if you have that too saved out already. I'm going to collapse my layers, and I'm going to go back up to the top here, and I'm going to select this guy here, Show Shaded Material in Viewport. So that way he'll actually show up on my plane here. So now you might notice, since it's kind of trying to stretch the image to the plane I made, he's kind of a funky proportions. He's a little fatter than what I actually drew him as. So if you go into your modifiers and go to your pull down and go to UVW map, this will apply a UVW map on it, so you can move your guy around. We can scale him and stuff like that. And I could scale him and try and figure out, more or less what I want him to be like. But if I actually want him to be exactly like my my picture, I could just scroll down here a little and select bitmap fit, and just select that file again. It takes a little bit extra time with the Photoshop file. It's kind of a downside of using them. And what that'll do is, you see here, there's a little plane. It fit my UVW. It scaled it to match my picture exactly. So if you notice here, it actually adjusted all that. So I'm going to collapse that to an editable poly. And oh, I forgot to remove my lines here, but that's okay. I'm just going to select these guys here by double-clicking them. I'm going to have preserve UVs on. That way I can move these lines without messing up the UVs. I'm going to put one in the middle. I'll put one beside them, and the other one over here, something like that. And then I'm going to go back to my verts, and I'm just going to select these verts and just delete them. I don't care about these side lines here. I'm going to just select those, loop them, and I'm going to hold Control and Backspace, and I'm going to remove them. So that way we have nice two clean faces here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select one of the faces under my polygon, and I'm just going to go and hit Detach. And I'm going to call this side. And I'm going to rename the one I have here to front. Now I'm going to just adjust the pivot on both these guys. Let's see where it is right now. It's probably, yeah, it's in the middle of this guy. So I'm going to select both of these guys. I'm going to go to my hierarchy view here. I'm going to go to Effect Pivot Only. I'm going to just center it to Object. That way they both have their own pivot. I'm just going to collapse that to an editable poly by right-clicking on both of them. I can do this at 2 times at once, so now they have their own pivot. I'm going to take the side view, and I'm going to rotate them 90 degrees. I'm going to have my snap on over here, my angle snap, just to make sure I'm actually doing this correctly. And what I'm going to do is with my box here, and take my box, I'm going to make sure it is, make sure it's on view mode. I'm going to zero it out so it's nicely in the center. And then I'm going to take each of these guys and then zero them out as well. Just to make sure, actually, that's not a good idea. I'm actually just going to hand kind of place these guys, because their pivots might not actually be in the center of what I want it to be. I'm going to delete this box. Actually, no, I'm going to keep that box for now, sorry. I'm going to select the box and hit Alt-X, which is going to make it see-through. I'm going to go to my front viewport. I'm going to hit G. I'm going to turn off my, my shaded lighting too. You can see it's trying to cast a shadow through the box. It's really annoying to work with. So I'm going to right-click on this guy here that says Realistic plus Edge Face. I'm going to turn it from realistic to shaded. That way it's just straight lighting, there's no shadows. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select my planes. I'm going to make sure they're both selected because I'm going to scale them around and move them around so they fit my box. So I'm going to scale them up, and I'm going to make sure my guy fits this box from his toes to the top of his head, not his horns. Just something like that. There we go. Happy with that that scale there. I can now delete my box. I'm going to go to my front viewport. I'm going to turn my grid back on, and I'm going to align this guy so he's centered with this line, this center line here. You see that black line there? So I'm just going to move him so he's nice and centered, and then I'm going to move him back so I have some room to model in here. And I'm going to do the same thing, but in the left viewport for this guy. I'm going to just kind of center him. He's not symmetrical, so just kind of put him somewhere like this in the center, probably where his arms or his legs are. And then I'm going to put him back as well. Something like that. Alright, so we have our characters. We have those guys there, so we're ready to model. So this is the setup I want you guys to have. Just hit save, save that wherever you want it to save. There we go. And that's it. So that's how we're going to set up modeling. So make sure you get your scale correct. Make sure you put in your pictures here to scale. Scale them to the size of the box and then align them to the grid lines here. If you notice, I'm going to move this guy. He'll be the same height, so it's all aligned properly. So just make sure you have that set up, and we will continue by starting to model the head.